You were written off, counted out, dismissed like you didn't matter. But guess what? You're rising, and now the very people who once betrayed you can't believe their eyes. Let's talk about that transformation that has them shook. You're stepping into a whole new level of clarity, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Things that once confused you now make perfect sense. The fog is lifting, and what's being revealed? Truth, wisdom, strength, and it's all yours now. You've grown in silence. While others thought you were broken or lost, you were actually rebuilding, stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who you truly are. And now, the tables have turned. The same people who doubted you, talked about you behind your back, maybe even tried to break your spirit, they're stunned. They never expected to see you thrive. They thought you needed them, that without their validation, you'd fall apart. But you didn't. You healed. You reclaimed your power. And now they're realizing they never had any real control over you to begin with. You see, when people treat you like you're disposable, like your worth depends on how useful you are to them, they assume you'll crumble the moment they walk away. But what they didn't count on was your comeback. And now they're confused. They're whispering, watching, wondering how you managed to grow in spite of everything they threw at you. Let them wonder. Let them sit with the silence you left behind. You owe no explanations. Your growth speaks for itself. You never needed their approval. You just needed to remember your own power. They really thought you couldn't do it without them. Friends, family, exes, whoever. They believed they were the reason behind your potential. But guess what? You've proved them wrong, and now the joke's on them. They were convinced you needed their approval, their support, their presence to make something of yourself. They truly believed that without their help or their validation, you wouldn't go far. That was their mistake. But what they failed to realize is that you were never relying on them. Your strength, your breakthrough, your success, it was always rooted in something far deeper. You didn't need anyone's permission to grow. The only presence you ever truly needed was God's. You shifted your dependence from people to purpose, and everything began to change. See, when people believe they have something you need, some of them start to treat you differently. That quiet resentment builds. They think they have power over you. They start pulling away, or worse, looking down on you, like they're doing you a favor just by being there. But here's the truth. Your journey was never about convincing people to stay. It was about remembering who walks with you, even when everyone else walks away. You didn't just survive without them. You grew. You healed. You rose higher. And now those same people are watching from the sidelines, wondering how you're still standing, how you're thriving. You're walking in divine alignment now. What you lost wasn't rejection. It was redirection, and you're exactly where you're meant to be. They didn't respect you when they had access to you. But now that you've pulled away, now that your light is shining brighter than ever, they're starting to realize who you really are. But guess what? It's too late. See, a lot of people can't honor what's in front of them. They can sense greatness, they can feel your potential, but they don't truly see it until you're no longer in their reach. And when you were close, when they had easy access to your energy, your kindness, your heart, they overlooked it. They couldn't grasp the depth of who you are because your evolution wasn't meant to be revealed in their presence. They weren't ready to see it. And spiritually, they weren't equipped to value it. People don't always lack vision. They just lack alignment. And when you're not aligned with the wisdom of God, when you're not truly connected to divine guidance, you miss out on the blessings right in front of you. You mishandle them. You misuse them. They couldn't see your worth not because you weren't valuable, but because they weren't looking through eyes of wisdom. When someone doesn't value themselves, they can't value anyone else either. It's a reflection of their own brokenness, not yours. And now that you've distanced yourself, they're feeling that absence. They're realizing the access they once took for granted is gone. You've become what they feared. Unreachable. Unrecognizable. Drop it in the comments right now. I am unreachable and unrecognizable. Because you are. You've outgrown the version of you they thought they knew. God protected your identity for a reason. He concealed your power, your purpose, your calling, because if they had seen it too soon, they would have tried to sabotage it. Let them sit with that loss. Let them wrestle with the reality that they didn't honor you when they had the chance. You've been elevated beyond their reach for a purpose, and now the only thing they can do is watch. Protect your energy. And remember, what God has for you will never require you to shrink, to beg, or to prove your worth. God didn't hold back your blessings because you weren't worthy. He held them back because you were still attached to things that couldn't come with you. Let that sink in. There was a season in your life where you were still tied to the wrong people, wrong environments, wrong habits, and God, in His mercy, delayed what He had in store for you. Not because He didn't want to bless you, but because He didn't want His blessings to be mishandled in the presence of those who didn't deserve access. He needed your obedience. He needed you to listen, not just to the signs, but to your spirit. And the moment you started to pull back, the moment you walked away from everything He exposed, that's when the shift began. God was waiting for you to stop entertaining what was beneath your calling. He was waiting for you to stop watering dead places. You kept showing love, showing up, giving chances, and they kept playing in your face like you wouldn't catch on. But you did. And now that you're alone, now that you're out of those toxic cycles, God's saying, now I can bless you. Now I can elevate you. Now I can pour out what I've been holding in store just for you. Everything you've been praying for, it's not lost. It's not delayed. It's being released right now because you're finally in position. You're not surrounded by the noise. You're not distracted by chaos. You're alone, but you're aligned. They thought they could keep disrespecting you. They thought they could keep playing with your heart, your kindness, your loyalty over and over again. But the grace period has ended. You've been removed from that equation, and now the equation no longer adds up for them. So walk boldly, speak your truth, expect the overflow. You're not being punished for walking away. You're being prepared for the breakthrough. And if this resonates with you, drop it in the comments. I'm in position now. I'm ready for the promise. Because what's coming next, it's everything you prayed for and more. They thought they could keep walking all over you, like you'd always be their doormat, always available, always forgiving. What they didn't realize was their time with you was temporary. God had other plans. Some people really thought they had a lifetime pass to disrespect you, to use your kindness, your love, your light, without ever giving anything real back. They thought they could take from you endlessly, and you'd never stop giving. But what they didn't know is that God had placed a limit on their access to you. That season, it was temporary. That connection, conditional. It was never meant to last forever. God was giving them a chance to grow, a chance to rise, a chance to walk in purpose next to you. But instead of honoring the divine opportunity they were given, they squandered it. They mishandled it, and now it's over. You weren't placed in their life randomly. You were the light, the example, the guidepost meant to show them what love, integrity, and spiritual alignment looked like. But they weren't ready for that. And because they refused to change, God had to move you, not to punish you, but to protect and prepare you. You couldn't keep thriving while surrounded by people who only saw your value when it served them. So God pulled you out. He said, I need to separate you so I can work on you more, so I can elevate you, refine you, heal you. Because the level you're going to, those people can't come with you. They were just a lesson. You were never meant to stay in that place. You were just passing through. So stop looking back. Stop second-guessing what God already called you out of. That chapter is closed. Say it in the comments if this word is for you. It was temporary. I'm being repositioned for greatness. Because you are. You've been reassigned, promoted, elevated. And the people who once thought they could run over you, they'll be watching from a distance as God finishes what He started in you. That place where you faced rejection, betrayal, spiritual warfare, the one where it felt like the whole world was against you, that was never meant to be permanent. It was only a chapter, not your story. You might have felt surrounded, attacked from every angle. People lied on you, turned their backs on you, tried to break you down with every weapon they had. But here's what God is saying right now. That place, it was only temporary. Go ahead and write it in the comments. It was only temporary. Because some of you are holding on to memories of pain from a place God already released you from. You were never meant to stay there. And when the time came, even though you were scared, even though your hands were shaking, and your faith felt small, God whispered, "It's time to go." You doubted yourself. You didn't think you'd get approved for that new place. You weren't sure if you could make it without their support. You thought, how am I going to do this alone? But you weren't alone. God said, I got you, and that's all you ever needed. To those of you who moved in faith, who left even though it didn't make sense, who stepped out not knowing how it would work out, look at your life now. Look at what's already starting to happen. The doors are opening. The stress is lifting. The light is breaking through. You are literally watching your life shift in real time. And you know it's not luck. It's alignment. It's obedience. It's divine. God is not just moving you out of painful places. He's moving you into purpose, into peace, into the life He's been preparing for you all along. So speak it out loud. Claim it in the comments. My life is taking off. I'm walking in purpose now. Because that's exactly what's happening. You're no longer stuck. You're no longer trapped in environments that were trying to kill your spirit. You're free, and the favor on your life is undeniable. Keep trusting. Keep moving. The old place served its purpose, but it's not your home anymore. You're stepping into greater, and nothing can stop what God has set in motion for you. Everything you once cried out to God for, it's finally unfolding. The doors are opening. The weight is lifting. And you are stepping into the version of yourself you always knew was there, but life tried to bury. Your courage has returned. Your voice is stronger. Your confidence is no longer borrowed. It's rooted. You're remembering who you are, not in ego, but in truth. You're seeing clearly now. The fog has lifted. And what you're walking in is not just healing. It's peace. It's freedom. It's clarity. It's alignment. The ones who tried to break you, silence you, doubt you, they're watching from the sidelines in shock right now. Shock that you made it. Shock that you're rising. You're doing the very things they told you that you couldn't. You're walking into rooms they never thought you'd reach. You're becoming the version of yourself they were too blind or too intimidated to ever acknowledge. You're not just showing up. You're glowing up, and you're doing it in full view of the ones who said you wouldn't. So drop it in the comments if this is your season. I'm aligned, I'm growing, I'm rising, I'm ready. Because this isn't about revenge, it's about redemption. This is your testimony. You don't owe the past any more tears. You don't owe small people your silence. You owe yourself your full presence. And God, He's already gone ahead of you to make the path straight. You're not walking alone. You never were. Your life isn't just improving, it's elevating. You're rising higher than even you imagined. And the people who once overlooked you, they're watching in disbelief, because it's all happening without them. Your life is taking off. And here's the part that's hard for some folks to swallow. It's happening without them. The same people who doubted you, dismissed you, or tried to keep you small, they're not part of this next chapter, and that bothers them. But guess what? They were never supposed to come with you. Their access expired when their actions revealed their intentions. You're not just growing, you're soaring. And you're doing it with peace, with clarity, with purpose. Sometimes elevation requires separation. God had to remove certain people so they wouldn't try to take credit for the blessing. He had to reposition you where their voices couldn't reach. Now you see it. Obedience brings overflow. Whoever these people are, whatever or whomever you had to leave behind, you had to do it. You were called to step away, and it wasn't easy, but you listened to God's voice. He said, it's time to move. No more staying where you're not meant to be. You don't need to be here anymore. Let me take over. Let me do the work. Now, understand this. God didn't just move you for the sake of it. He moved you for a reason. Whether it's a new job, a new home, a fresh start, He took you out of that environment to prepare you for what's next. He knew you couldn't stay there and reach the heights He's calling you to. He's pulling you into something bigger, something better, and you're beginning to see that now. Sometimes the hardest part is trusting that God knows what He's doing when everything around you feels unstable. But believe me, the moment you stepped into obedience, you stepped into your breakthrough. It might have been painful, it might have been uncomfortable, but it was necessary. You are in the process of stepping into your divine purpose, and God knows exactly what He's doing. You may have seen some progress in that environment at first, but deep down, you began to feel stuck. You started to question yourself. When is this ever going to end? You felt like you were running in circles, like you couldn't move forward. The truth is, you could only grow so much in that space, and that's why God had to move you. He knew you needed a new environment to flourish, a place where you could truly thrive. The people around you, the ones who were part of that environment, were afraid to let you go. They sensed your strength, your potential. They saw what you didn't even fully recognize in yourself at the time. They saw the courage, the boldness, and the resilience you carried within. But they didn't want you to see it. They didn't want you to realize your own power. They didn't want you to grow beyond them or leave them behind. But when you finally started to recognize it, when you started to operate in your true power, everything began to change for you. Now things are shifting. You're no longer operating in the shadow of other people's limitations. You're stepping into your own light, and it's undeniable. God had to move you because He knew what you were capable of. He needed you to step into the fullness of your potential, and now that you're walking in that purpose, everything is aligning for you. Things are changing, and you're growing in ways you never imagined. Now look at your life. It's rising, it's flowing, and it's all unfolding with peace, with grace, with ease. Things that once felt impossible are happening naturally. It may have taken some time for your mind, your spirit, and your surroundings to align in this new season. But now you're seeing the shift. You're living the shift. Drop it in the comments. It's happening for me now. Because it is. They never thought you'd do it without them. They were counting on you staying stuck. They thought you'd come running back, like you did before. Back then, every setback sent you back into their arms. You used to call. You used to cry. You tried to fix what was never real to begin with. You tried to mend something that was always one-sided. But this time, you finally understood this isn't yours to fix. You're no longer trying to hold together what God was trying to pull apart. You stopped reaching for people who were never reaching for you. You're no longer controlled by emotion. You're moved by obedience. You're doing exactly what God told you to do. You broke the cycle. And now your peace, your progress, and your power are undeniable. They never thought you'd do it without them. They were counting on you staying stuck. They thought you'd come running back, like you did before. Back then, every setback sent you back into their arms. You used to call. You used to cry. You tried to fix what was never real to begin. But this time, you finally understood this isn't yours to fix. You're no longer trying to hold together what God was trying to pull apart. You stopped reaching for people who were never reaching for you. You're no longer controlled by emotion. You're moved by obedience. You're doing exactly what God told you to do. You broke the cycle. And now your peace, your progress, and your power are undeniable. Let's be honest. Not everyone in your life wanted the worst for you, but they definitely didn't want you doing better than them. They were comfortable when you were beneath them, when you were doubting yourself, second-guessing your worth, settling for less. But now that you've walked away, now that you've cut ties with what wasn't growing you, your life is taking off. You're rising, doors are opening, everything is aligning, and it's because you finally listened to God and let go. And suddenly, here come the familiar numbers on your phone, the unexpected messages, the social media lurkers. The ones who used to ignore your presence are now watching every move you make, start to finish. They're texting long paragraphs like nothing ever happened, like you owe them a conversation. But listen, access denied. They had full access to the old you, the version of you that tolerated too much, trusted too fast, and loved too hard. But that version is gone. You buried that person when you stepped into your healing. You walked into alignment with your purpose, and that means not everyone can walk with you. This new you, whole, bold, disciplined, clear. They don't know this version, and guess what? They don't get to. You don't move the same. You don't think the same. You don't respond the same. What used to get your attention doesn't even register now. What used to keep you up at night can't touch your peace anymore. You're not just on another level. You're on another dimension. And the people still stuck in that past version of your story, they're reaching, but they can't grasp you because God elevated you out of reach. Let's be real. Some people don't even deserve a front row seat to who you've become. Giving them access to this elevated version of you, that would be a disservice to your growth, your healing, your journey. They knew the version of you who second-guessed herself, the version of you who were over-explain, over-apologize, and overextend. That's the you they were familiar with. But the person standing here today, whole, healed, they don't know this you. Let them re-meet you if they've earned the privilege. But many are not even qualified for a reintroduction. You don't owe them that. You don't even know those people anymore. They might recognize your face, but trust me, they don't know your spirit. They don't know your strength. They don't know your story. This version of you was forged in fire. This version of you was built in the dark, when no one was clapping, when no one believed in you. Now that the light is shining on you, they want to act like they always knew you? Nah, you don't owe history or future. Listen, some folks had a front row seat to your life, and they blew it. They had full access to your heart, your time, your loyalty. But that chapter is closed. The invitation has been revoked. They don't get to sit next to this upgraded, elevated version of you. They're stunned right now, sitting back and whispering, asking all kinds of questions. Where's he living now? Who's he dating? Who's helping them with bills? How are they even surviving? Especially if you've been called into a season where you had to leave that job, leave that comfort zone, or step into the unknown. People are pressed and nosy. They're not calling you now to see how you're doing. They're monitoring your progress. But you're on to them. You passed the test. With scars maybe, but you passed. You didn't retaliate. You didn't try to ruin anybody's life, name, or dignity. You weren't trying to win at all costs. You just stayed focused. And that, right there, is why you're being blessed. You're just existing in your truth. You're just becoming who God called you to be, and they can't stand that. They knew the moment you walked away, your life was going to elevate. They could feel it before you even did. That's why they acted the way they did when you left. It wasn't confusion, it was fear. It wasn't sadness, it was panic. Instead of choosing growth, they chose pride. Instead of letting your strength inspire them, they let envy consume them. Instead of becoming better, they got bitter. And with their free will, they didn't choose healing, they chose hate. They saw the light in you from day one. They saw the potential, the grace, the calling, and instead of rising with you, they decided to tear you down. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you reminded them of everything they were refusing to become. So what did they do? They belittled you, mocked you. They tried to downplay your worth. They thought if they made you feel small, they'd feel big. But you're not their stepping stone. You're not anyone's emotional punching bag. And now here you are, rising and thriving. And they're watching it unfold in real time. Not from the passenger seat, but from outside the car entirely, because they made a choice, a very conscious choice. They could have aligned with your elevation. They could have learned from your journey, but instead, they used their free will to sabotage, to manipulate, to mistreat. And what you're seeing now, that's just the return of their investment. There came a moment when God said, "Enough is enough." That's when everything started shifting. You didn't have to fight, beg, or explain anymore. He simply reached down, took your hand, and pulled you out of the chaos, pulled you out of that unhealthy relationship, pulled you out of that toxic environment, pulled you away from those so-called family members who only reached out when it benefited them. It wasn't just your strength that got you out. It was God's grace. See, He separated you not to punish you, but to preserve you. He had to remove you from the noise so you could finally hear His voice. He had to get you alone so you could remember who you really are. That wasn't isolation. It was elevation in disguise. And now the light is green. You've been called forward. This is your moment. Say it with confidence in the comments. It's my time to shine. You're not just surviving anymore. You're stepping into overflow. Doors are opening. Opportunities are finding you. Peace is flooding your space. Why? Because you were obedient even when it was painful. You followed the whisper of God even when it didn't make sense. And now heaven is responding. This isn't payback. This is divine reward. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.